Having a good day so far. So today we'll be doing advanced writing and we'll be focusing on grade 8 advanced writing on dialogue and quotations. So we'll be doing advanced writing for grade 8 on dialogue and quotations or quotations and dialogue, right? So basically dialogue and okay, before we continue, we're going to log into aplusstudents.ca. We're going to log in with our username as well as our password. And then we're going to select the subject of language arts, grade 8. And then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of dialogue, quotations, and dialogue. So before we go on to quotations and dialogue, right, and formatting quotations and dialogue, so quotations and dialogue. So we're going to explain what a quotation is and what a dialogue is. And before we do so, right, our chapter is quotations and dialogues. The subject is English language arts, grade 8 advanced writing, and then the lessons that we're going to be focusing on is formatting questions and dialogues. And we are doing our tutorial classes, tutorial lessons, or tests on aplusstudents.ca. All right, so now we are going to try and first get the meaning of both dialogue as well as a quotation, right? So a dialogue is a conversation between two people, right? Or two or more people, depending. If you are having a conversation with yourself, it's not like you are answering yourself. It's just you are thinking whatever the response might be. But you cannot have a dialogue, a conversation with yourself, right? So, ways to use a dialogue. At the beginning or end of a sentence, right? It says, here's an example. It says, Kanan is a funny guy, said Sophie. And Annie said, Maya is so slow, so sweet. So, ways in which for us to use a dialogue, right? In the middle of a sentence, the girl shouted, Oh my, and ran away. And in a broken quote, since you didn't do your math homework, my teacher said you'll have to finish it at recess, right? So that is a dialogue. So that is when we use a dialogue. right? So now, quotes when we are just quotes, the rules for using quotes. Remember, when we are quoting a word, you need to put it in inverted commas. And we say that the rules for the for quotes is that for every new speaker, begin a new line, right? Remember, if you are introducing a new speaker, then it means that you need to introduce a new line. We don't just continue because the new speaker won't know what we are talking about. So for every new speaker, begin with a new line. And commas and periods go inside quotations. If you have a comma, if you have a full stop or period, then within that sentence, you're going to. Also, when we're using quotes, we need to use commas to separate dialogues and speakers. And we capitalize the first letter of the spoken dialogue and indent the new lines. And when you're using, for example, exclamation marks or question marks, right? Then we do not add it within a quotation. So the rules for using quotes is to, for every new speaker, begin a new line. Commas and periods go inside of quotes, which means that if you have a period or you have a combo, then it needs to go in the necessary sleeve. So commas and periods go inside, and it's inside of a quote. So which means that even if a quote is very long, right, inside needs to be a period as well as commas. And then use commas to separate dialogue and speech. We capitalize the first letter of the spoken dialogue and indent new lines. So we use commas to separate dialogue and speaker, and here it says except when using exclamations or question marks. Right? So basically, if we look even at the dialogue, right, it's a conversation between two people, two or more people, right? That's a dialogue. And of course, when we are writing quotations, and then we basically quote the words, the direct words that the speaker had said. We put it in inverted comma and we close the We put it in inverted commas and we close inverted commas again. And we see that we are doing our lesson on A plus students.ca. All right, so now we're going to A plus students.ca. And we're going to format quotations and dialogues. All right, so now we need to correct. Before we correct, let's go here. So when we are using quotations, right? When using quotation marks around a direct quotation from a speaker or written source, a direct quotation can be written in several ways. The quotation can come after the speaker tag, and for example, the speaker declared, meaning that they are saying this, they are stressing it, right? Now we open inverted commas. We can succeed by working together, full stop, and we close our inverted comma. He demanded, who's there? And then we need to use a comma to separate the speaker tag from the quotation and capitalize the first word of the quotation. And quotations basically can come before the speaker tag. So it can come after speaker tag or it can come before a speaker tag. And we can succeed by working together, right? And that is in quotation marks, comma, the speaker declared. Who's there? He demanded. And unless the quotation ends with a question mark or exclamation point, separated from the speaker tag with a comma. Mhm. All right, so we said quotations can come before a speaker tag. And a speaker tag, oops, and a speaker tag basically is when you say that you're going to be saying something. So before you say something, it's either he demanded, she said, she exclaimed, she declared, right? That is a speaker tag, right? So a speaker tag can either come before the quotation or it can come after the quotation, meaning the quotation can either come before the speaker tag or after the speaker tag. He can succeed by working together. And this declared the speaker. Who's there? He asked. Because now the speakers are at the back, right? Or it's written after. Or let's say the words are written after the speaker tags. And unless the quotation ends with a question mark, exclamation mark, separated from the question tags with a comma, do not capitalize the speaker tag unless it began with a proper noun or pronoun. And the quotation can be interrupted by the speaker tag. We can succeed the speaker declared by working together. Use commas to separate the speaker tag from the other quotations and do not capitalize the second part of the quotation. So we can succeed, the speaker declared, by working together. We use commas to separate the speaker's tags from the quotation and you do not capitalize the second part of the qualification. And commas and periods, they always go inside closing quotation marks. Question marks and exclamation points should go inside only when they are part of the question. So only if they're part of the question, then they enter and that's it. So if we look at another activity, it says, who's there? He demanded. He demanded who's there. Yes, the question mark is the part of the question. So place it inside the closing application mark. No additional commas or periods is needed. And he paused and listened. Had he really heard someone say, there's no one here? Here the question mark is not part of the question. So please, so place it outside the closing question mark. And no additional period is needed. So the quotation can come before the speaker tag or after the speaker tag. So who can succeed by working together? And the speaker declared, who's there? He demanded. Unless the quotation ends with a question mark, exclamation point separated from a speaker tag with a comma. So do not capitalize a speaker tag unless it begins with a proper noun or a pronoun. So far the speaker, right, or the speaker tag is, for example, where you as a person is either saying something, asking something, stressing a point, right? That is why they're constantly making mention of a speaker tag, because it's a speaker. If we were to imitate or repeat what you said, and then we would open it in like a quotation mark, right? So now that will be our speaker tag, and whatever you basically say, it's your speaker tag. And we're going to help you how to use a comma to separate the speaker tag from the quotation and capitalize the first word of the quotation. And like I say, speaker tags can either come at the beginning of the sentence or it can be afterwards. So unless the quotation ends with a question mark or exclamation point, we need to just separate it from the speaker tag with a comma. And do not capitalize a speaker's tags unless it begins with a proper noun or proper I. All right, so now we're going to correct any errors in capitalization or punctuation. Your answer should be a single sentence. So your answer needs to be a single sentence, right? It says economist Bernard M. Burach noted the art of living lies less in eliminating our troubles than growing with them. So we need to check or correct any errors in capitalization or punctuation. So we once again going to repeat it by saying economist Bernard M. Burach noted. So economist Bernard M. Baruch noted, the art of living lies in eliminating our troubles than growing with them. So now we need to choose errors in capitalizing or punctuation. And once again, economist Bernard M. Barash noted the art of living lies in eliminating our troubles. All right. So we need to find any errors in capitalization or punctuation, right? On the whole, George Orwell quipped, human beings want to be good, but not too good. Or on the goal, George Orwell equipped, human beings want to be good, but not too good. So I think by this one, the H needs to be capitalized. So basically, on the whole, George Orwell quote, human beings want to be good, but not too good. All right, let us quickly do our test, right? Where we are going to format not questions, quotations and dialogues, right? So we're going to correct any errors in capitalization or punctuation. And your answer should be a single sentence. I've been meaning to ask, said the detective, whether you happen to write down the license plate of that stolen car. Or I've been meaning to ask, said the detective, whether you happen to write down the license plate of that stolen car. So we need to choose between one of these. Is it the first option or is it the second option? So the first option says, I've been meaning to ask, said the detective, whether you happen to write down the license plate of that stolen car. All right, so now we're going to choose one of it, and basically both look exactly the same. So I've been meaning to ask, said the detective, whether you happen to write the license plate of that stolen car. Let us just choose the first one because both looks exactly the same. So we're choosing the first one. We need to correct the errors in capitalization or punctuation. And your answer should be a single question. So, although some people may consider dandelions or dandelions to be noxious weeds, Ella mused, I think they are lovely, meaning I think they are lovely. So, we need to choose the correct one. Let's choose the first one. Although some people may consider dandelions to be noxious weeds, Ella mused, I think they are lovely without the 36, right? So that is basically correcting that quotation. And economist Bernard M. Barach noted, the art of living lies less in eliminating our troubles than in growing them or growing with them, right? So if we find our or look for our capitalization or punctuation or dialogue standard or error, we will choose the first one. So it says we need to correct any errors in capitalization or punctuation. It wasn't until I had an apartment of my own that I learned to be self reliant, my father admitted. So we now need to find the capitalization errors. Let's see. It's the first one. It says it wasn't until I had an apartment of my own that I learned to be self-reliant, meaning that I need to rely on myself, on my own, doing things for myself, right? And we're going to choose the first one without the 25. And then if we can accept our ecological responsibility now, future generations will be grateful that we took good care of the earth, concluded the speaker. So if we can accept our ecological responsibility now, future generations will be grateful that we took good care of the earth, concluded the speaker. And if we look at our options, right? Is it option one or option two? Where we say that if we can accept our ecological responsibility now, future generations will be grateful that we took good care of the earth. concluded or said the speaker, right? Which means that we need to look after our planet Earth in order also for our future generations to enjoy what we have enjoyed so far. So we're going with the first one without that 23. Our deeds determine us, remarked the writer George Eliot, as much as we determine our deeds. So our deeds determine us as much as we determine our deeds. And I think that is to do with the good things that you do, right? Um, which means that the things that you do, it determines the type of person that you are, right? As much as we determine our deeds. Um, so it's the same as like if you're a giving person, right? If you are generally a generous person and you basically give from your heart, right? That is automatically people will see that flourishing out of you, right? But if you are just doing it because you want people to see you, right, then it definitely means that it's like your deeds basically determine you. So people will see that you are just doing it for fame. You're doing it because you want to be seen. But as much as you determine or we determine our deeds determine us, meaning that our character speaks for itself, for itself. The things we do, the things we, let's say the deeds, the good deeds that we do, right? Eventually, yes, we have control over that. But like I say, people will see if it's actually you being genuinely about it or if you are forcing trying to do good deeds. So our deeds determine us as much as we determine our deeds, remarked the writer George Eliot. So if we choose the correct answer, right, then we will choose the first one. Both is actually the same, it's just that they added the four by the second one, right? They say that time changes things, but you actually have to change them yourself, observed artist Andy Warhol. So they say that time changes things, but you actually have to change them yourself. At the end of the day, it's we are the ones that holds literally the purpose in our own purpose in our hands, right? So yes, eventually time will change things, but you actually have the power to change it yourself. So, depending on how you steer it, what you allow, right, that is basically that will determine if it is being changed in either a negative or within a positive way. So, they say that time changes things, but you actually have to change them yourself. Because remember, time just goes. Time ticks. It's moving forwards, not backwards, right? And the more we delay in changing things ourselves, the more time will just move and things will just flow past us. All right, so if we choose the correct one, we will choose the first option. As former US President Herbert Hoover declared, words without actions are the assassins of idealism. So, words without actions are the assassins of idealisms, meaning that a lot of people will basically just say a lot of things, but they won't do anything, right? It's the same as you saying you want to give back to the community, you want to give back to the less fortunate. You have all these ideas, you're talking about a lot of things. However, without any form of action, your words basically means nothing. right? It's as if you are just going to constantly um, tell people, you are going to remind people, you are going to make them believe that this is what you're going to be doing. People are going to live with the expectation, and then you never pitch for that, right? So, words without actions are the assassins of idealism. All right. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. So never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world, the anthropologist Margaret Mead declared. So never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Remember, if any person, whether it is a big group or a small group, once you are thoughtful, committed, right, you can basically change the world because you, instead of just saying things, you are basically, putting in the action, right? You are committed to changing things. You're committed to seeing a change. You're committed to changing people's lives, right? And that is why they say that committed citizens can change the world, whether it is a small group, right? All right. So that is now for formatting quotations and dialogues, right? So when it comes to quotations and dialogues, remember dialogues is basically conversation between two people, whereas a quotation is where it's like a saying that either someone had said, right? Whether it means there's usually a meaning behind that saying, and you have a speaker that says something, and it's either that they say something before the speaker says something, or let's say the speaker point, or it is after. So that is the end of our lesson on advanced writing. Thank you very much for joining the class, and I really hope you're going to have a good day further. Goodbye.